Chapter 32. Bar 66, Anakin Skywalker. I wake up the moment I sense a disturbance in the Force. Something dark is coming. Something very, very bad is about to happen. Suddenly, I feel like I've been awake for hours already, even though when I went to sleep I was completely shattered. Ahsoka had been really depressed when she found out about the whole "you are going to die" thing, which isn't really a problem for anyone else back on my planet, since they all had their jabs when they were babies. I got mine when I was almost 10 because that's when I first arrived on the planet. Anyway, the Force is acting like a jackhammer in my head right now, telling me that I need to get away or protect myself. To be honest, I only care about keeping Ahsoka and Obi-Wan safe. That's it. I'm out of bed in a heartbeat, and with a click of my fingers, I am fully dressed in the clothes that I have back at my home. I really am getting tired of these shoddy clothes that the stupid Jedi give me. What a bunch of cheapskates. Sprinting out the door, I skid around the corner and use the Force to warp open the door to where Ahsoka sleeps. She is awake in seconds and gives me the typical "what the hell, man" look that I've grown used to. I used to give it to anyone who would wake me up, and that is something that you do not do to Anakin Skywalker without getting frozen solid. I've had it done to me before and it was far from adequate. "Anakin, do you have any idea what time? Get up. Now." I cut across her swiftly with a deadly serious look on my face. "What's going up?" Snips. I repeat more firmly, clicking my fingers so that she is dressed in her day clothes too. Pulling her to her feet, I usher us both out of the room and out of my quarters. "Anakin, what's happening? Where are we going?" Ahsoka asks as I am marching her down the corridor. "Don't you sense that?" I question, seriously doubting the Jedi's teaching abilities once again. "Something very bad is about to happen here. We have to go, get Obi-Wan and get out. Now." Ahsoka frowns and I can feel her mind catching up with the situation. It becomes obvious when she finds out as she doesn't need me making her walk anymore. Not that I really care anyway. I grab her and pull her after me as I run towards the area where I can sense Obi-Wan is sleeping. The old man won't be asleep for long once I get to him. I still cannot believe how utterly powerless these Jedi morons are. Would it kill them to realize that the Force doesn't give a damn about them? No. It might lower their self-esteem a bit, but other than that they should be fine. They're not going to be fine for long, though. Unless they all get up from their beds and realize that something is coming this way. It seems like a Force sensitive to me, and I'd hazard a guess that it's a Sith, but I don't see why the Force had to warn me. Against that, there must be another explanation. We round the corner, with me still pulling Ahsoka along, and I manage to break the door as I use the Force to open it. Just goes to show that I don't know my own strength sometimes. The room is dark, which means that Obi-Wan went to sleep already. Not that I don't already know that, but I'm pretty sure my presence alone will be enough to wake him. As I open the door to his room with the Force, I see his getting out of bed with a frown on his face. When he looks up and sees me, the frown deepens, and his eyes flicker between me and Ahsoka for a moment before his Force sensitivity kicks in. The realization that filters across his face has to be the best thing I've seen since I sensed the darkness coming this way. "Oh, you sense that now, huh?" I ask rhetorically. "We have to go." Obi-Wan stands up from his bed. "What? Anakin, we have to warn everyone." "What is it I'm sensing anyway?" "If I had to take a wild guess, I'd say a Sith Lord with the cavalry backing him," I reply. "Now, if you insist on letting everyone know, then we'd better get going. We've got 10 minutes. Tops." I have to give the old man credit for how fast he can move. He was out of his quarters almost as fast as I was out of my room when I sensed the danger the first time. We quickly follow him and I let go of Ahsoka just in case I break her wrist or hand if I sense the danger getting closer, and my grip goes vice-like. I could heal her faster than I could hurt her, true, but I'm a Force wielder for the light, and I don't like to hurt people who I don't need to. It's really easy not to hurt people if I know that I could beat the crap out of them any day of the week. Period. Word travels fast when there's danger about, it seems, because after 5 minutes of me waiting with Ahsoka in the room that I can sense is the safest every Jedi is up and about. It's strange to think that if I had not woken them up they would have just continued to sleep, and then this dark threat would have killed them all. Shame, really. It wouldn't have bothered me half as much if Ahsoka had never showed up. That would have been one of the greatest mysteries of the Jedi Order. What killed Ahsoka Tano? Knowing them, they just pass it off as a heart attack and ignore what the Force tells them. That's probably why the Force's will was for Ahsoka to find me that day. "Anakin," Ahsoka asks, "what do you think is coming besides the Sith Lord? What's the cavalry?" I sigh. "It's Dooku," snips. "He couldn't have gotten here without help, and there's an army with him. Somebody in the Republic with enough influence to get him in is on the side of the Separatists." "But who?" "The Sith Lord behind the war," I answer. "He must be someone in the Senate. No one else could have known enough to get Dooku on Coruscant. It just doesn't happen." The sound of people moving around us speeds up and I hide a frown from my face with ease. It's plainly obvious to me that the threat has arrived, and the sound of blaster fire just goes to show that the Army Dooku brought with him is pretty much pathetic. Unless you have a real skill or lightsaber, then you aren't going to be able to do much to anyone on your own. I then sensed something peculiar. The people attacking the temple are clones. The Republic are supposed to be using clone troopers to fight the war against the Separatists, and here they are attacking the generals who lead them. Well, I'm guessing this has been a long time planned thing, otherwise the clones would not be killing people so easily. We have to go now, Snips. Let's find Obi-Wan and get out of here before all hell breaks loose. I gently grab Ahsoka's wrist and lead her through the safest path towards Obi-Wan. Unfortunately, the old man seems to have gone towards the danger instead of away from it like any sane person would have done. Carefully, I maneuver us so that I am in front of Ahsoka and in the direct way of anything or anyone that might seek to harm her. I'd hate to say this to anyone other than Obi-Wan, but I really care about her. Not in a way that I love my angel, she was the reason I came back along with my mother. I care about Ahsoka like a father cares about a daughter or a brother cares about a sister. It's mostly the former, since the age difference is fairly obvious if you look at us. 9 years if you use basic counting, and technically it's a bit more, but still. We turn a corner and I can already sense what the problem is before we get there. In the entrance hall, which is already quite badly damaged from when Starkiller came here, there are clone troopers from the battalion who are shooting at all the Jedi they can find. Dooku is shouting orders at them to go for the more inexperienced ones first, so that when all the masters are left, they can be executed like dogs. I'm not really sure that I like this guy any more than I did when he was a Jedi himself. We barely talked, and when we did he seemed very tense around me. Probably pinning the blame on me for letting Qui-Gon die or something did. Back to the matter at hand, I am getting a serious headache from all of this, because the pain and destruction is just like a jackhammer that I have had enough of. Raising my hand, I call upon the power within me and shoot a ray of golden sparks around the room in one large burst. Everyone freezes aside from me and Ahsoka, and I sigh in relief. Not only did that just stop me from getting a migraine, but it also stopped the sharp pain in my side caused by the power overflow that I am feeling right now. Oh, that felt good to get rid of. I have excellent self-control over myself when it comes to showing pain or emotion, so it wasn't hard for me to hide it, but that's not to say that it wasn't uncomfortable for me. Okay, everybody who does not want to be killed by the clone troopers, go and meet up with the Jedi Council in the hangar once I unfreeze you. Got it. I asked the Jedi in the room and I can sense their confirmation through the Force. Good. I click my fingers and unfreeze only the Jedi in the room, because I'll be honest here. What idiot is going to unfreeze the enemy too? The Jedi can't stay here and imprison the clones whilst they're frozen, because one rogue battalion has obviously been corrupted by another. It's common knowledge that in these situations you run like the devil of Corellia himself is chasing after you with a pitchfork and black cape. Though many are confused about what just happened, the Jedi are smart enough to do as I say, and go to the Jedi Council, who are waiting in the hangar for evacuation. The younglings are already out, I believe, but a quarter of them were killed by clone troopers, and the Padawans and Knights had half of their numbers slashed just from the fight in this area of the temple alone. The clones from Kamino really do get the best training in the galaxy when it comes to shooting. In my opinion, the Jedi really should have seen this coming. Troopers cloned from a bounty hunter who fought against them that were lured by a Jedi master under the influence of the dark side and kept a secret for 10 years. For the saviors of the Republic, they really are very thick sometimes. This way, Snips. They'll be unfrozen in 3 hours and they can't hear us, so we should get going. I say to Ahsoka, who seems to be amazed by every little thing I do. What about the other people stuck in the temple? Ahsoka questions as she follows me in the direction of the hangar. There's no one left, Snips. They were either killed off by clones that came in through other entrances who I have also frozen, don't worry about them, or they were evacuated just like everyone else. When this is all over, there will only be around half of the order left than there was before, I inform her. People were injured and some are faced with trauma that might not clear up if they're not gotten to a medical station soon. Ahsoka frowns. So, can the Republic help us? I don't think there's going to be a Republic left to help the Order in a few hours, Ahsoka. I say glumly. What do you mean? Are the clones turning against them too? No. The clones were turned against the Jedi from someone very high up in the Senate, and there's only one person I can think of with enough influence to turn the loyal clone troopers against their generals. I reply. Let's just focus on getting out of here first. Okay. Wait, why are you limping? I stop in my tracks when I notice. You see, this is one of the side effects of a power overflow. I can't sense things as quickly as I should be able to, and now it seems that I've missed something really important because of it. Ahsoka has the protection field, so she shouldn't be limping at all. I really don't like this galaxy. I think I sprained it when we were running along, she admits sheepishly. That explains why the protection field didn't pick up on it. Spraining your ankle isn't considered a dangerous thing back on my planet, since at your age, you should know how to heal minor injuries such as that. I explain. Just hold still and let me heal it. It doesn't take more than 5 seconds for me to heal something that common on my planet, and then we're up and running again. When we arrive in the hangar I cannot help but smirk. The GD always have a backup plan for invasion that can only be activated if the Order know that something is going to happen, and that plan involves a cruiser the size of 1.5 Republic ones. It could fit the whole Order into it, but since there are only half of them left, there must be a bit more room left on board. The last few GD are boarding now, and the Council are waiting half outside and half inside the cruiser just in case there's a problem. Well, my rival must have let them know that nothing bad is going to happen at all, because they visibly relax a little, and Obi-Wan gives me a look that clearly says thank the Force he's here. I must say I haven't felt this wanted by the GD in all my time here. Anakin, is everyone safe? Obi-Wan asks. I nod. Everyone who survived is on board that cruiser and the clones are stuck right now. We have around 3 hours to clear the planet's atmosphere. Hang on, we think it might be a good idea if me and Master Yoda wait behind to see who is behind all of this. Obi-Wan says. If the clone troopers attacked us then they might attack others in the public. Alright, I can live with that, I say. Ahsoka stays on board the ship, though. Obi-Wan nods. That's what we thought was best too. He agrees. I'm fairly certain that Ahsoka knew this was coming, but that didn't stop her from giving me a look that conveys the message of I wanna come too. Luckily for me, Master Plo seems to know her pretty well, as he made sure she got on board the cruiser before she could protest out loud. To them it might have been easy, but I got loads of messages in my head through the force of some very colorful words that she threw at me silently and probably thought I wouldn't hear. I need to stop swearing around her before Obi-Wan gets on my back again about it again. Seriously, I don't need the old man yelling at me for teaching Ahsoka words that she'd already know by now if she hung around with the cool crowd. We'll meet up with the Order on Palis Massa once we figured out what is the cause of all this. An emergency Senate meeting was just called by the Chancellor, and we have a feeling that the answer may lie there. Shall we go then, old man? Henceforth, I declare that the Republic shall be the first galactic empire. The booming voice of the Chancellor rang out throughout the Senate hall, and was followed by many cheers and shouts of approval. I cannot help but shake my head in sadness at this. The dark side is revolving around the Chancellor like a deathly plague, and it grows stronger and stronger with each cheer that sounds for his cause. It does not escape my attention how some senators are not joining in with the cheering. They have fake looks plastered on their faces which convey messages to others that they have a slight disapproval of this. You can only see this if you look hard enough, and I have been looking very hard at the face of the woman I have no seen for 11 years. Yes. I still cannot believe that after all this time I can see my angel again. You know, I always thought that I would only ever see her in my dreams of when we met in Watto's junk shop, but now I can say goodbye to them. Just goes to show that the Force can be lenient in some situations. So this is how liberty dies, she has said to those around her. To thunderous applause. My Force-enhanced hearing picked up on that rather quickly, and the two cloaked figures beside me don't seem to like the sound of the Senate hall any better than I do. The applause continues even as senators begin to leave, and my eyes dart across the hall to check for anything I may have missed, but I find nothing. My Force presence is well hidden, and my emotions are so in check by now that even Master Yoda, who is stood right next to me, cannot sense a small flicker. And again, he never has been able to, but I still take pride in the fact that I have passed them in the emotions category which they challenged me about when I was 9 years old. I carefully inspect the senators who are not happy with the formation of the Empire, and see that they are mostly leaving towards the same area. A penthouse place called 500 Republica, I read from one of their minds. That's where Pat lives. I get all excited inside just from the thought of going to the place where she lives, and I know that Obi-Wan will give me a hard kick if he ever finds out about this. It will hurt more than the ones he's given me before, I'm sure, but it'll be worth it. Padme is leaving with Senators Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, so I know who is going to 500 Republica. The problem is that I can sense danger in their way, and it's not exactly a riddle to figure out the source. Palpatine has something to do with this. How about we follow them home, I suggest, gesturing to the 3 senators that are just about to exit the Senate hall. Why them? Obi-Wan asks curiously. Because I can sense that they're about as happy with this Empire thing as we are, I reply, and that's good enough for the 2 GD masters standing beside me. We move from our hiding place, cloaks swishing as we walk, and go down the hallway. The senators are walking at a pace which no one finds suspicious, because they don't want to be caught out, and I have to say I am impressed. The angel's not 14 anymore, that's for sure. I use the Force to make sure that no one will notice us unless we draw attention to ourselves, and when we start too near the exit we catch up with them. I don't think I'll ever forget the look of surprise upon Padme's face when I made us notice to them and only them. They didn't stop, wisely, for Obi-Wan gave them one of his later looks and they understood. The man has more of a reputation that I gave him credit for. I use the force so that the senators won't be noticed either as we leave the building and walk into the shadows of an alleyway. I take note of the Senate guards around just in case something goes wrong and we need to run. General Kenobi, we did not know you were in the Senate building, Senator Organa says once we get into the alley. That was thanks to Anakin. He gestures to me before continuing. We are here because of what has happened to the Republic. The Jedi temple was attacked, and we need to figure out what is going on. Here. We know about as much as you do, General. The Chancellor informed us all that the Jedi had betrayed the Republic and were to be exterminated, but we had no idea he had already gone through with his plan. Mon Mothma replies. Our numbers have been cut in half, but there are still many of us left. We are evacuating to a place we have not been to for a long time, but we don't know whether to trust you with that information or not. We are perfectly trustworthy, General Kenobi. We only seek to return democracy to the Republic. Senator Amidala says, and I feel like I might swoon from the sound of her voice. Dear Force, I need to get a hold of myself. Obi-Wan looks at me. Anakin. They're telling the truth. I reply calmly since I have been able to sense it all along. But I really don't advise talking about it in an alleyway where anyone can overhear you. Can't you just use the Force to make it so any passers-by can't hear us? He suggests. I roll my eyes. Suddenly everyone's an expert, I mumble before waving my hand, and making a barely there blue shield appear that quickly fades into invisibility. Go ahead. Obi-Wan turns back to the senators who seem much more interested in me than they were before. We are heading to our abandoned temple on Yavin 4. That way we don't have to start from scratch. They nod. And just who is this man? Senator Organa asks, gesturing to me. This is Anakin Skywalker. Obi-Wan replies. The hero of Naboo who went missing 11 years ago. Senator Organa asks with his eyebrows arched high. Obi-Wan nods. The very same, although he might be a little different than you remember. How did he prevent people from listening in on our conversation? I didn't think that Jedi could do that. Mon Mothma questions. He's not a Jedi. He's a Force wielder. You mean like Starkiller? I wonder how they know about him if the Chancellor himself didn't know. Oh well, it's not like they're not going to find out. This is a place where that particular Force wielder is going to have the time of his life. No? He's a Force wielder for the light side, not the dark. In other words, he's on our side. Obi-Wan clarifies for them. How can you be certain? Senator Organa asks whilst giving me a suspicious look. I really don't like him. Well, for one, he's been in the Jedi temple for the past 3 months. Obi-Wan gives as a reason before I can officially give my own reasons. The first of which being that I am not a dull-minded senator. Before he can continue speaking, 2 Senate guards walk up and try to come through the alleyway. I quickly raise my hand and wave it in front of their faces, so that they change their direction. We should really talk about this somewhere else, I say. We can go back to my apartment. That was where we were headed before you came along. Padme suggests. Good idea. Anakin, will you stop amusing yourself with those things? I give him an innocent look and make the pod racer that I made out of steam disappear into the air. Sorry, you know how I get when there's nothing to do.